Councillor Gorries to propose, Councillor Birchfield to second. So I'm going to just open it to the floor to see if anyone has questions. Councillor Birchfield, you do.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. If you look at page CL 79 on paper A, where it references my point about the fact that I asked the Cabinet a question during the March Cabinet meeting, and the leader had said that he agreed to address this matter in the next Cabinet meeting, which was April, and the question was around the money for the DPD, and I believe that DPD money was around £750,000 and what we were going to do with that money. I have checked the April minutes, Cabinet minutes, and there's no reference to that. So I would like to understand from the leader what we're going to do, how are we going to tell the public what we're going to do with that money, because that's the whole point, is that's a lot of money, and we need to let the public know what we're going to do with that money, because it's still, as Councillor Crooks pointed out last time, it's still a line item in the budget. So I appreciate if you can enlighten us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Napier.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Fair point. What I would say is that one line item description is not the sum game of everything that money is used for. It's not just about the new settlement, which I think was Councillor Crooks' point. It's about all the things we need to do to turn the local plan into a living document and actually benefit people. So I apologise that it wasn't picked up in the April meeting. I don't have a reason for that because I can't recall why we discussed it and solved it at that point. But I'm happy to make sure we rectify it and we'll make a public statement like to explain it properly.
Yes.
So could we minute the fact that the leader has said that he's going to address that in the May Cabinet meeting? Because I won't be here.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Matters
there's no May Cabinet meeting.
No. It's,
Well,
so it would be
whenever the next Cabinet meeting is, so that the members of the public can see
Yes.
that that's.
Noted.
Thank you very
so
much.
that's going to be a matters arising then, Jill, is it? Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else, anything that they would like to say, or can I take a vote on the minutes? Right. Everyone for the minutes? Anybody against the minutes? Anybody abstaining? Item 2. Apologies for absent. Jill?
Councillors Chris, Harwood and Renshaw from me.
Do we have anybody else? Councillor Crampton?
Councillor Southern.
Councillor Southern? Anybody else? No. Okay. That's lovely. Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Anybody have anything that they would like to declare tonight? Item 4. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce this item. Can I please ask Adam Green, our ecological and countryside manager, to step forward and make his presentation? And yeah, well, it'll unfold as it unfolds. So do you?
It will rattle, I'm sure.
Yes, exactly. So Simon, do you want to give Adam your?
Lovely, thank you. Madam Chairman, my fellow, well, not my fellow councillors, esteemed councillors, thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and speak tonight. The purpose of today's meeting is to celebrate the efforts of Colin Gray and Mavis Gray, MBE, on his retirement and all his work that he's done for us as part of the Fleet Pond Society and as part of his civic duty for Fleet and Hart District. For those of you who don't know Colin Gray, he moved to Fleet in 1985 to work for British Airways, where he shared the car with David Jones, who was the current chairman of the Fleet Pond Society at the time, and got roped into joining the conservation volunteers back on that cold morning. He joined the committee 2 years later as the chairman of the Mood Management Subcommittee in 1990. And with Chris Hall, he wrote the first fully comprehensive management plan for the council in 1993, which really was the start of Hart's countryside service. And I know, and I'm very grateful of what a high esteem that we see the countryside service, but without that's a pivotal moment in our history. Without that, I don't think we'd be in the position that we are in today. So that's quite a key moment in there. In 1988, he was made acting chairman, but a year later, through Collins Rose, he was made the chairman, and he's been there ever since, through thick and thin, and we thank him for it. He's had so many achievements, and some of these include, in 2003, FPS was the only conservation organisation in Hampshire to be awarded the Queen's Golden Jubilee Award, and that was quite something, and I know some of you will remember that. The Institute, we also won an Institute of Civil Engineers Award, which is not an easy thing to get as a conservation body. This is hardly our John Elson, my technical services manager, was so jealous that we got that for the Fleet Pond project that we did there. We also got Green Flag Volunteer Award in 2017. That's a national award, and it's no mean feat. And I spoke to the leader of Green Flag just a couple of weeks ago, and he remembers Colin very, very fondly and speaks of you very well from that. So your legacy with him sort of remains on in the national context. And on the back of that, Colin was made MBE in 2019, this year, which is no mean feat. Let's not forget Mavis, who stuck by his side all the way through this, keeping me warm on cold conservation volunteer days with hot chocolate and Mars bars. But it very much is a double act. They're both in this together. They're both much loved by everyone to visit. In a moment, I've managed to track down all the past Fleet Pond rangers who have got something to say in a short clip. But he's also raised tens of thousands of pounds for the conservation. The Clear Water campaign is quite a remarkable example of this. He also manages 450 volunteers for the Fleet Pond Society as well. And as part of that has contributed many, many hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of volunteer time into the management of the Fleet Pond. And it's a fantastic achievement for any person. Mavis and hopefully Jim will now take on that legacy going forward as the new chairman of the Fleet Pond Society. But he's not just content with that. He's also an avid member of the Fleet and Church Cookham Society as a committee member, and he's been active in the campaign for rural England as well, and putting Fleet Pond forward for a project which we weren't so lucky to win that time. So I think without Colin, we'd be seeing a very, very different place around us today. And part of this is to show our appreciation to the efforts that Colin, Mavis and the Fleet Pond Society really have given to us, particularly here in Fleet and far-reaching across. And in doing so, I've managed to track down rangers from far and near, some older and uglier than others, I'm afraid. Not Lee, obviously. It's just a 10 short clip, just to say.
We've just made you this little video to show you how much people care about you and how far-reaching your influence has been, even as far as Australia, as you see. I just want to say on a personal level, I've worked for you for 10 years and I've never met somebody so dedicated to what they're doing and yet so hardworking and yet so humble. I'm sure all this will embarrass you greatly, but we're going to do it anyway. You know, I just wanted to say it's been an absolute pleasure working with you, and I'm sure it won't be the end. I'm sure I'll see you. You know, I used to really look forward to Friday mornings when I'll see you and your band of merry men down at the workshop. You know, the old guard and all the fun you used to have, and you know, I'm sure there'll be lots more in the future. And I will now pass on to one of the oldest Fleet Pond rangers.
Steady yesterday, it was 1996 I believe, when a young, fresh-faced new ranger joined the Fleet Pond Society group for their first volunteer task many Sundays all those years ago. He was a lot slimmer and had long dark curly hair back then and was devilishly handsome if I remember. Thanks again for defining me. I mean, I would not be where I am now if it wasn't for the work that we shared together, the development, the laughs and the tears that we had all over the time. We don't always agree, we've said that in the past, but generally we've always respected each other's and supported each other all the way through it. And you know, I'd like to thank you because without you I wouldn't be where I am. And I'd also like to thank Mavis Gift for supplying Mars bar cakes, teas and coffees, bring us all corporately from all ranges of the past. I'm sure you're hearing from them all the way through this. Thanks very much for all your efforts and it was much respected. Cheers. Hi Colin. I am and always have been impressed with the amount of time you and both Mavis have put into the pond and the local community over the years. For the 17 years that I've been with Hart and involved with the pond, you have been an ever-present part of it, moving things forward and dealing with all sorts and everything at all hours of the day and night. I have fond memories of various escapades with yourself, hauling the last pond tractor back up from Bristol in the snow, back up the M4. A small boat training where several people managed to end up in the pond and get rather wet. And keeping things secret about Graves Bridge, along with others, surprising both yourself and Mavis, which was a great effort for all those involved. Congratulations once again on your Green Flag Volunteer Award, which I did have a little part to play in, and now with your well-deserved MBE. I hope you had a great day at the Palace. Whilst you deserve a rest and time to reflect on all that you've done in the locality, I hope you will keep the new leaders of Fleet Pond Society on their toes and be there with your vast knowledge on the place. Hope to see you around the pond soon.
Hi Colin, Joanna here. Just wanted to say congratulations and thank you for all of your hard work at Fleet Pond over the years. You've made it a very special place to work and visit, and just wish you all the best for the future. Bye.
Hi Colin, it's Tim here. Lee told me that you were retiring as chair of the Fleet Pond Society after nearly 20 years. I thought I'd just send a quick message to say what a pleasure it was working with you and a lot of the summer wine crew when I was Ranger back in 2010. It was like a long time ago, but I have very fond memories of that time working with you guys. I know it's going to be a new chapter for you and you're handing over the reins to Jim, but you should be very proud of what you've achieved over the years. And I think without your dedication and commitment as chair, the Fleet Pond Society wouldn't have been so effective at making so many great changes at the pond. I have to say I don't think I've ever worked with a more committed and effective community group than the Fleet Pond Society in England or down here in Australia. So that's largely down to you. So I wish you all the best of luck in the future, and it's goodbye from me down here in Tasmania. Bye.
Hi Colin, my name's Louise Tweedy and I'm the reserve manager here at Martin. I worked alongside Colin at the Fleet Pond. I was a countryside ranger from 2011 to 2014. Absolute honour working alongside Colin. It's an amazing site and was there for the dredging of the lake, the incredible islands that we've now created. And Colin did lots of fundraising during that time, including the Triple Side Challenge, which was absolutely amazing. He's over the years been recognised for that with the March Award from WBT for wetland conservation that he does. And good luck for the future, Colin.
My experience of Colin Gray. So, I was very lucky to be a ranger for Hart District Council. I absolutely loved my time there. And an important part of that was working alongside the Fleet Pond Society. And Colin Gray was one of the first people that I met. And I could see he was very well respected and very passionate about everything that he did, especially around the pond. Really enjoyed my time working with everybody there that was involved. There is some particular times, I think, on the volunteer days, which I will never forget. Lots of laughs, lots of very serious work done, lots of great work around the pond. There's some particular times, though, that does stick in my memory. There was once when we were doing some filming for Country File, and Colin thought it would be hilarious if we went into the reed bed and started throwing mud at my face. This resulted in not beautiful skin, but a very giggly Colin. In fact, he laughed so much, he actually literally fell over into the reed bed. And he certainly has a fantastic sense Anyway, well done, Colin, for the time spent looking after the pond, and I'm sure that everyone else that loves it will continue on the great work. Hope to see you around there sooner rather than later. Thank you for this privilege of adding to this video. Bye.
Thanks very much for listening to that. Just the point is that, why does no one else age apart from me? Everybody looks just as young as they were when they used to work for us all back there. That's 25 years of Rangers nearly there, stretched out in front of you. They all look fresh as a daisy, don't they? On the back of that, Colin, thanks very much for all your efforts. We have got a small presentation for you. It's a bit left field. But,
Great.
It's a hedgehog house.
Hey. My tortoise will put that as well.
And as well, we have a year's membership for you and Mavis to the World of Download Museum for you to enjoy all the events and activities that are there. And for you, Mavis, bunch of flowers.
Am I supposed to say something now?
I'd run.
That's exactly what I think they're doing, yes. It's not, I mean, it's all very nice, it's all the lovely things they've said about me, but the thing is, you could not work with any better organisation than the Countryside Service. The Rangers are all very dedicated, they work extremely hard, and they are always very supportive of what we do. As Adam said, I don't always agree with what they do, but then that's the way things are in nature conservation. You have your own ideas of how things should go, and we always come out with a good compromise in the end. I don't really deserve all these awards because I couldn't do this without a very strong support from the membership of the Fleet Pond Society, and particularly the committee. We have a very dedicated committee who put themselves to a lot of trouble to support the strange things that I come up with. And I think it's really, this MBE, if it's anything, is a tribute to the Pond Society and the Pond Society Committee, rather than just this individual who stands here embarrassed about all the things you've said about me. So I am very grateful for being recognised in this way, but it does actually reflect well, I think, on the Pond Society and all they've achieved over the years. They were here long before I came on the scene, and I'm hoping they will be here long after I've gone. Thank you very much for recognising me and for the Pond Society in that very night. Thank you on their behalf as of mine. Thank you.
Adam, for going through that. It is a well-deserved recognition, Colin. You know, you say you don't deserve it, but you absolutely do. It takes a strong leader to achieve what has been achieved in that community group. So I think everyone is very grateful and appreciative of what you do. I don't know whether any of the members just would like to just say a quick anything. Oh, there we go. So Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have to tell you, declare an interest, I suppose, at this point, because I am a very proud subscribing member of the Fleet Pond Society. Proud because it is a terrific organisation that's been going now for a good number of years, and the reason why it is so strong is because of the leadership from the chairman, Colin Gray, over the last 20-odd years. So I know he says all the credit should go to the Fleet Pond Society. Yes, it should. But he is the leader that drives it forward. And he's the kind of guy for whom retirement is the kind of thing that would exhaust most of us. Because he's still on the Fleet Pond Society committee. He's there sitting beside Jim Story as he takes over to build it forward. And I have to say that Jim has very difficult task here to match up to Colin Gray. So in 20 years' time, Jim, when you retire from the Fleet Pond Society, I'm sure we'll be saying similar things about you, but for this evening is Colin's, because his contribution, not just to the pond, but to the whole district, to Fleet Pond as the jewel in the district's crown is a phenomenal contribution, particularly when you remember that not that many years ago you could walk across Fleet Pond without getting your knees wet.
Thank you. Councillor Labour.
Thank you, Chairman. What something you wrote there is, I'm an alien to Hart because I was actually born a mile north of our border in Sandhurst, which unfortunately is in Berkshire, it's not even in Hampshire, so I really do not belong. But before I knew about Hart, I used to go to Fleet Pond very frequently as a young teenager. I was a member of the Young Ornithologists Club, the junior part of the RSPB. Fleet Pond, even then, was a fantastic place to do bird watching. So when I got elected in 2000, I found out, because I didn't know at that point, that Hart was responsible for Fleet Pond, belonged to the Pond Society. So I thought, fantastic, this is a marriage made in heaven for me. Someone must have tipped Colin off, because a year or two, or about a year afterwards, we had a volunteering exercise for members to get involved in local organisations. And Colin and others approached me to help out with Fleet Pond Society, and I was very happy to do that. It was time for old road, so to speak. We are very lucky in Hart. One of the reasons it's such a great place to live is the amount of people we have in our society who put their time in on the voluntary level to do all the things that add value to our towns and villages. And the Fleet Pond Society is a classic example of that. Jim, the bar is very high, but I think I can honestly say that the sort of people we have in Fleet and the wider district, we don't struggle to find these sort of people. These people, they find us and they want to put more. They say they will put a little bit back. They tend to do a lot more than just put a little bit back. And I wish the Bond Society every success in the future working with the District Council. And Colin, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. I think I've probably known Colin on the Pond Society longer than most people. I was put onto Pond Society, didn't know much about it when I first became councillor, and that's quite a few years ago. And I met Colin, saw him go through the committee to chairman, and I have to say that we really wouldn't have the pond. I know there's lots of other helpers and people that supported him, but it was just his determination. And I remember in the olden days, Colin, when we didn't always agree, the pond side didn't always agree with the council, and I was kind of the go-between. And I think on some things we did succeed and bring the two together. And I admire you for that. You didn't give up. You kept going for what you thought was right. And I think now, as somebody already has said, I think it was Adam, that the connection between Hart District Council and Pond Society is better than it's ever been. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Radley.
As a regular commuter out of Fleet Station, every morning I look across the pond and I deliberately spend a moment to look at it because it gives me a sense of peace and joy. And when the train is pulling back into the station coming home in the evening, I look at the pond and I feel as if I've come home. And I think a lot of people in Fleet and beyond in this area really appreciate the beauty and value of the pond. I don't think many realise the amount of effort that has gone in to keep it that way against all the challenges and problems that it has felt. So on behalf of myself and other people who get a spiritual benefit from that beautiful vista, Colin, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for another round of applause because I think it's well deserved, and then we can move on. Obviously extremely welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you would like to, but we will completely understand if you would all like to vacate. Right, so we're going to move on to item 5, which is members' questions by the public. We have none. Item 6 is questions by members. We have none. Item 7, obviously it's all about me today because it's my last meeting. So you can see the events that I've done listed there. I have actually got another 4 booked in before I go, one of which is another royal visit I have been super lucky. Will have had 2 royal visits, and I think it might actually be the first time we've had royal visits. So I feel really, really lucky for that, as to have been the chairman. I'd like to thank everyone who supported me through my term. I've just had the nicest time. It's been very hard work, and it's taken a lot of time up, but we have just had the nicest time, Graham and I. I've enjoyed representing you all. I've enjoyed representing the council as a whole. Graham and I have had the privilege of meeting some really lovely people, attending some fabulous venues and events. We've raised just over £14,000 for my charities. A significant amount of that has come through the Hart lottery, which, again, without the residents buying the tickets, we wouldn't have that. So that is just incredible. And my charities will be so grateful to receive their share of that. I am extremely sad to be seeing Councillor Gorries, Councillor Gray, Councillor Birchfield and Councillor Renshaw leaving the council. From my personal point of view, it's been my pleasure to work with you all, and I will miss you. And on behalf of the council, I wish you well. And I don't know if anyone else would like to just have a quick, I thought people would. So I know it's not normal, but I'd like to offer people the chance to say that, because we have got people leaving. So, Councillor Neighbour.
Thank you, Chair. I'll do it all 4 individually, but I'll be trying to be succinct as all 4, so I do apologise. All right, okay. So, alphabetical order, no favouritism. Brian. Brian does a mean chili. If you've not had one of Brian's chilies, you are missing out on a life experience. Get to know him better once he leaves the council. Find out when he's throwing one of his soirees, have one of his chilies. Many of you may know that Brian and I share a lot of other interests other than the council. Mean chili started with Super Bowl parties, and although we support different teams, and only one of us has a team that regularly wins the Super Bowl. So I couldn't resist. We also had these chilies during 2 presidential elections, where we stayed up till the small hours. I was very happy with President Obama's re-election, and Brian was very happy with President Trump's election. We'll leave it at that. He is one of those councillors who, on a personal level, I count as a friend as well as a colleague. You're all very friendly, don't get me wrong. And to the distrust of most of my Liberal Democrat colleagues, I do have rather too many Tory councillors and ex-councillors for one of my friends. But that's just how things go. The thing I would say, though, in parting, is Brian has been a fantastic advocate for the people of Hook. He takes the ward stuff very seriously. I know he's been a cabinet member, he's chaired audit, he's Uncle Tom Hobley and all, but he's always put Hook first and foremost. And I think the people of Hook will be a loss for you not standing there. I'll move on to Councillor Gorries, Stephen. Stephen's actually on the council longer than me, although he was elected 2 years after me. He had done 4 years earlier as well, so he's actually done, so I was 6 for the party, what do I know? Stephen has done just about everything that this council has asked of him and more. He's one of the 7 people that have actually been leader of the council since the executive system of governance came in 2001. He's been chairman of the council. Well, you can't see it because it's hidden, but it's up there. He's permanently going to be in our eyesight there. He's represented Courtmore, he's represented Odium. I don't think I've ever had anyone be so admired with their work on the planning committee. I think it's a shame that you haven't spent more time chairing the planning committee, but I would say that wouldn't like, because I don't sit on the planning committee. But I want to speak very briefly about Stephen's future. You're always sad to see colleagues go. When they're from a different party, perhaps you're also slightly relieved if they're quite effective. So I was quite surprised when I got a call from a friend of mine, who is the leader of Portsmouth City Council. His name is Gerald Burnham Jackson. And he said to me, Dave, how are you? Well, I'm fine. How's the election going? I was saying, yeah, we're working hard. It's going fine. He said, right, what can you tell me about one of your colleagues who's stepping down? And of course, I misunderstood. And I was thinking, well, none of the Liberal Democrats are stepping down. What's going on? And then he said, because he's standing against me. And I thought, oh, okay, so I am. So what we all don't know is that in the Portsmouth Ward of Milton, current Hart District Councillor Stephen Gorris is standing against the leader of Portsmouth City Council. I've known Gerald for a very long time, and lots of people admire Gerald, but he is very determined. I wish you all the best. And I'll leave it at that. Alex, Councillor Gray, what I've written here, I can't do justice to, but many of us have very big egos, and we like to take up at least our share of the oxygen in the room. Councillor Gray doesn't do that, but when Councillor Gray speaks, I pay just that little bit more attention, because he is very observant, very insightful, and he only speaks when he's got something he's important to say. Now, you might know him differently in Conservative British, I don't know. But you're going to be missed, Alex, but you know, you've got a lot of your life still ahead of you, unlike many of us. So maybe you'll be back. And thank you for all your time and service on the council. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I wish you every success in the future. Andrew's not here. And all I've written down to say about Andrew is he's done a great job representing the Hart and Whitney ward, but boy, has he done an amazing job for the people of Winchfield. In fact, unlike all of us that are actually up for re-election, he's already succeeded in getting re-elected because he's been elected unopposed to Winchfield Parish Council, so he can carry on with that part of his life. I think Andrew definitely came here with an agenda, but he didn't hide that from us. And some of us found that very frustrating because we have a different view from him. But he stuck to his guns, he's not been shy, and he's told us what he thinks. And I think that's all you could ask for from your own local council. What to say?
Thank you. Councillor Parker.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman. Councillor Neighbour has, of course, stolen a lot of my thunder, but that's all right. That's what thunder's for.
Get used to it.
So I will go round, just to be different, in reverse alphabetical order, by Christian name, just out of devilment. So Stephen comes first. Councillor Gorris has been a member of this council in 2 incarnations for a lot of years. I suspect it's more than mine, but I'm not sure, I haven't counted. But he has been here a long time. He's done an awful lot. He's been leader of council and just about everything else downwards. He has always devoted his best endeavours to this council to try and make sure that all the people of Hart benefit from the advice and assistance that he can provide. As the leader has said, he's now challenging Gerald in Portsmouth. I'm interested that Gerald found it necessary to phone up our own leader to get the lowdown on Stephen. I'll be interested to know whether he felt reassured as a result or not. I might ask him next time I see him. But Stephen left this area a little while ago because he fancied living by the seaside, which he's now doing in Southsea. And he keeps posting things on Facebook that make you think I'd quite like to go to the seaside too. So I think this is an opportunity to say, Stephen, thank you very much for the service you've given us over the last 20-something years. I'm not quite sure exactly how many. I think the people of Hart have benefited from your presence here, and you go with our very best wishes. And I've got your address, and next time I'm waiting for a ferry, I'll look you up. So the next one on that list is Brian, bizarrely. Brian's been a member of this council for, what, 8 years? 8. During that time, he has made a significant contribution to our deliberations. He's been a cabinet member. He's been chairman of audit. The leader mentioned that. He also was doing an awful lot of very hard work trying to get the 5 councils thing in place and in working order. There have been a number of problems with 5 councils, and this is not the time to go into that too much. But the prospect of that was a groundbreaking thing that was going to be very difficult for all of us to do. Councillor Radley kicked the thing off some years ago.
Not actually. Councillor Birchfield kicked it off and handed it over to me.
Right.
Strict instructions not to screw it up.
Right, so now we know it's Councillor Radley's fault. So it's changed hands a couple of times. And all the members concerned have done their very best to make this work, and I pay tribute to Councillor Radley for that. To try and make sure that we've got something groundbreaking that's not only going to save us all money, but deliver better services for the people of Hart. So, Brian, thank you very much for your service to the Council over all of that. Next one, in reverse alphabetical order by first name, is Andrew Renshaw. As the leader said, he's a highly experienced parish council chairman. He's been doing that for, 30 years, something like that. I can't remember how much. And he's carrying on, despite the fact that he has had some ill health over the course of the last year or so. His contribution to our deliberations has been not as much as perhaps we might have expected, but with his ill health, I think that's understandable. I think we all wish him well, certainly in terms of his health, but also in terms of his service to the parish which he serves. Finally, Alex, former Royal Marine. He has a considerable intellect. One of the reasons why he is listened to by the leader and others is because when he says something, it is well thought through, well thought out, and well considered, and a useful contribution to all our deliberations. What he has brought to us is a perspective of a younger demographic, and I think one of the issues we all have to recognise is whilst we've got some diversity in terms of gender in this chamber, we are less good at having that diversity of the age ranges and less good in terms of ethnic minorities and stuff. We've had a bit of that, but we haven't got it in a moment. What Alex has done is to give us that perspective that I think is really helpful going forward. He leaves us with his fiancée, who's with us in the audience, just over there. She's the pretty one. And I say that in comparison with the gentleman next door to her. But she and Alex have made their home in Hartley Witney, and I very much hope that we will see Alex back in this chamber in the years to come once they've settled and established their household and she decides she wants to get him out of the house. So Alex, thank you very much for your contribution. It's much welcomed.
Councillor Radley.
I shall also go in alphabetical order. So Alex, you have quite clearly a great sense of integrity which comes across whenever you speak in this chamber, and you always speak from the heart as well as with the head, and you will be missed. We have valued your contribution in terms of representing the people of Fleet in what you've done, but also in representing young people, and I hope to bump into you more often on the Northern Line, and we can continue our chats. And whatever you do in life, I wish you well, and I'm quite sure that you will enjoy great success because you have all the attributes that someone needs to get on in this life. And your fiancée is very lucky, and clearly you are very lucky as well. In terms of Andrew, I never really got to know him that well. There are numerous reasons for that. Ill health is one of them. I can but wish him the best and hope that he can continue to serve the people in Winchfield in the way that he has so ardently done in the past few years. Brian, although Brian has been on the council for 8 years, I first met him 9 years ago, where he was very stoically stood outside the Church Crookham polling station all day. I mean, I don't know what you do to bully your candidates and standing outside the polling station all day. I invited him back for coffee, I invited him back for lunch, he wouldn't come, he just doggedly stood there. But I got a sense of Brian's determination and drive through doing that. I would like to think I can count Brian as a friend, certainly for periods of time on this council he has been. Latterly, I think some of the stress of what we've been going through as a council has paid its toll, but actually I still consider him someone I value very highly. He's someone I have an affinity for in terms of my background and his, and again, no doubt, no. His career is going to be a great success. He is a great success, and it's been an honour to work with him. Stephen, we have sat next to each other on planning and all the time that I've been here, and I don't know what I'm going to do the next time planning comes around and you've gone. So we have occasionally, actually more often than not, kind of picked up threads together and run with it, and often to our surprise we've won. I always value your input and guidance. I will miss looking over your iPod and looking at the maps that you've pulled up and things that you're pointing out, and you will be a loss to this council. And I know it won't be this year, but one day soon, I'm sure you'll be a great contributor to Portsmouth Council, and the people of Portsmouth should be grateful for that. So thank you all.
Councillor Crooks.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to echo what we've heard about our fellow leading councillors. It's been a great pleasure to work with Alex. Terrific. I won't say any more because everything's been said. And with Brian. And on the golf course as well, of course. A brief word about Andrew. I had the pleasure to meet with Andrew when Winchfield was part of my ward. And as you members may know, he and I shared a passion, which has now temporarily been delivered. So I'll leave it at that. Stephen, been a great to have you as a member of the team, our Odeon team. Everything's been said about you, except thank you from the team and for the residents. You'll be sorely missed. Good luck in Portsmouth.
Thank you. I think that's all very valid, and I'm glad that people have said those things because I agree with everything. So, item 8, Cabinet Members' Announcements. Can I start with Councillor Naylor, please?
Madam Chairman, I actually don't have any announcements except to say we've just done this wonderful thing. We've recognised the contributions of all the people that have chosen to be involved in the council. Some people in the room, myself included, have to rely on the voters to make their own deliberations next Thursday. And I would just like to say, as leader of the council, I wish all the candidates every success. Obviously, some of you more success than others. But, you know, we're a good team. People of Hart are lucky to have the council that it has. They might not always think it, but they are. And it would be new blood is wonderful, but I much prefer when the new blood comes because other people make way of their own volition rather than because the electorate have decided something else out there might taste a little better.
Thank you. Cabinet Member for Contracts and Community Services, Councillor Radley.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. For the benefit of viewers at home, a bit of an explanation, because everyone here knows all about this, but some background is important. This council, under the previous administration, did outsource quite a lot of services. Now, I was involved in the process early on. I was involved in putting together the procurement tendering process, but actually the resolution of the process was actually handled under the Conservative administration. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, some of those outsourcing contracts have run into trouble. And also, unfortunately, some of the contracts kind of tied our hands. And one of the contracts, which we all know lovingly as Lot 2, actually even failed to deliver any services to us. But unfortunately, we were tied into penalty clauses for early withdrawal. Due to the nature of the provision of services, we were basically forced to have to withdraw. And for a long, long time, we've been negotiating the withdrawal penalty. We had previously earmarked £400,000 to get out of Lot 2. We've been working very hard, and particularly with the support of the Chief Executive, to negotiate this down, and we've actually come in at £257,000. I still think that's an abhorrent thing to have to do, and when this council outsources anything again, the contracts need to be dug into really hard by people who know what they're doing and put the due diligence in, because we don't want to end up in a situation like this again, but at least we are free of that element of that contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Cabinet Member for Partnerships, Councillor Ambler.
No.
Okay. Cabinet Member for Housing, Councillor Bailey.
No announcements.
Cabinet Member for Planning Services, Councillor Cockrell.
No announcements.
Cabinet Member for Regulatory Services, Councillor Cannell. No announcements this evening. Thank you. Cabinet Member for Technical Services, Councillor Oliver.
Just one short announcement this evening, Madam Chairman. This is really to inform councillors that as part of the new waste services contract, we're going to look at a round review. Now, sometimes that will fill you with horror when you thought about what happened in 2013, but we are doing it in a very measured approach. This is to help optimise the rounds across Hart, to help our new service provider, Serco, provide the services that they contracted for. It is anticipated that less than 10% of households will be affected. They may well be communicated with over June this year, and that's why I'm announcing it tonight rather than in the next council, because I don't want councillors to be phoned up and told, my round's changing, please give me a reason for it. But just to make councillors aware, this is purely to optimise fundamentally for the new development that's happened in our district, as you know. So the vast majority of the residents who will be impacted will be in the Fleet wards and the Church Crookham wards. Well, so if you get a call from a resident about why is my bin changing, this is because we're doing a general round review, but they will be given all the information prior to anything happening.
Thank you very much. Right, we move on to... Oh, sorry, do beg your pardon. Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Chairman. A couple of quick questions relating to Councillor Oliver's mentioning the round review. Will that review cover the current contract and its failure to provide the improved fly tipping collections, or to cover any bank holiday bin collections around, for instance, Fleet Pond? We're talking about protecting it, but it tends to be a rubbish tip at bank holidays. So I just wondered, will that review cover those areas, or are they going to be covered in advance?
I can answer that. The round review that I've announced is purely for residential collections. That doesn't include collections from waste, general rubbish bins. Okay, so it does not include that waste bins. If you've got a specific issue on collections for general waste bins, say at any of the parks, please write and let me know, Councillor Forster.
And the fly tipping, if I may?
No, because that's not been talked about. So can
I just asked if it was covered in the review, that's all.
well, I think it's not.
No, fly tipping is not covered in this review. It's there was a paper that went to scrutiny on fly tipping. I think you were there.
No.
Okay, so Councillor Birchfield.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As part of the contract, I remember Councillor Oliver talking about a textile pickup as well, and I don't recall hearing about anything since. Could he maybe give us a little bit of an update on that?
Sorry, yeah, I know it's not connected with the rounds, but I'm very happy to answer Councillor Birchfield's last question in this case.
It might not be. It might not be.
How wouldn't I know? No, but we do intend to introduce that. There has been some stabilisation impacts on the new service contract and getting some of the IT systems to work, which we utilised some of the basin step systems for this, and it was not thought, we previously planned to introduce textile collections in March. That will not now happen until July.
This year.
This year.
Thank you. Right, so we now move to item 9, which is the Joint Chief Executive Report. Can I ask Mr. Phillips to...
Yes, Jen, just a quick update on one thing which will be close to Councillor Forster's heart. The cameras work in the building at the moment, but we're not turning them on just yet because we just need to check a security issue about what it's actually plugging into our network. And Capture IT have been absolutely helpful in actually isolating that's the one issue left to go. So the supplier should be in for the next couple of days to sort that out. And I'll probably invite you when we get past the election in to actually see us do the first proper test with it to see how it goes out. So it's just a security issue that we want to get fine. And the other issue is we're looking at holding the film for about 3 months. It's probably going to be held on YouTube. The question that we need is just to get the supplier to identify where in the world is it going to be held. So I don't think, I've asked a couple of other councils who do exactly the same, where do they think it's held? They can't answer that either. So we will have an answer for that, just to make sure it's held in the, our purposes at the moment, European Union want it held, not somewhere in the States, unless you can identify it. So that's the two questions we just need to sort out. And if Councillor Forster's happy, I'd like to bring him in when we actually do the proper test, just see how it goes. It could be quite fun.
Does Councillor Forster know where his videos are held?
Don't mind.
If I may answer that?
You may.
Yes.
I'd just like to say I'm actually quite impressed with our officers for being the ones who have asked the question of other councils, where is your stuff being held and how are you accessing the internet, because if they haven't thought of it, then it's actually pretty good that Hart has put that in their minds because of safety, so well done for that. Right, item...
So one quick comment, if I may, just on that.
Very quick.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to thank the Joint Chief Executive for having responded and got the agreement from everyone to put in the video system. I look forward to it working. Interestingly, today I'm streaming it live, and we've more than trebled the number of members of the public who are actually present virtually. That includes members of Fleet Bid. Yeah, it includes members of Fleet Bid, a candidate, and a number of residents. And it's fantastic that they're able to join us.
Lovely, thank you very much. Okay, right, so item 10, minutes of the committees. Minutes of overview and scrutiny held on the 19th of March. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Cranston.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I wonder if I could ask the Chairman of Overview and Scrutiny to provide more details on the minute 118. There's little detail on feedback from the service board, and I would like to know if he thinks the service boards are producing adequate service plans.
I think that is coming back to ONS. So I'm not sure if... Yeah, so I think that will probably be covered in the annual report, won't it?
Can I come back on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did have a discussion on the efficiency of service boards at the last scrutiny meeting, not this particular one, and we came to the conclusion that perhaps there's a better way of doing it. Indeed, as you're right, that will be in the Chairman of Scrutiny's annual report coming to the first council in the new year.
But I am right in thinking that the whole service board thing is coming back to ONS, isn't it?
Well, no, we've made some recommendations in the annual report. It's up to the first meeting of scrutiny next year to decide whether they want to adopt those recommendations.
Thank you very much. Okay, so anyone have any questions on the audit committee meeting of the 26th of March? Anyone have any questions on the cabinet meeting of the 4th of April? Councillor Brooks.
Thank you. On the item where the Cabinet discussed the service plans, I think this is tab 44 we're looking at, page 44? Yeah. I was present at that Cabinet meeting, and I expressed some of the issues that I think brought forward from the previous scrutiny meeting about the completeness, accuracy and legibility of some of the service plans. And I'm pleased that the Cabinet were able to recognise those shortfalls, adopt what they could in terms of an operational service plan. But I'm very pleased that we're looking at that whole issue of how service planning is done, and in particular the fact that in that particular meeting, the service planning meeting, there was no service plan for planning policy at all. It wasn't even considered. We had a very brief look at the service plan at scrutiny, but for some reason it wasn't brought forward to Cabinet. So I think there's a bit more work to do on that, jointly between scrutiny and Cabinet during the next year.
Yes, I think that's probably why it's coming back to Cabinet, so that's probably noted already. Thank you for that. Anybody got any questions on the planning meeting minutes of the 10th of April? Okay, that's lovely. so item 11, outside bodies feedback. Does anybody have anything to update the council for a meeting that they attended? Councillor Parker.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. There was a meeting of SEEK on the day after the last council meeting, which I attended. The discussion was about shaping skills in the South East to meet the challenges of the future. I'm not going to go into too much further detail about it. I'll circulate papers and minutes when they're available to me. And just a final thought, whilst I'm on my feet and we're near the end. I mentioned my prospective son-in-law's illness a few months ago. I'm pleased to tell members that they had their wedding last week and it was magical.
Oh, congratulations on behalf of everyone.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Anybody else from Councillor Collins? Yeah. I know, you're on my group.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just to let you know that this afternoon I attended a military commandant meeting at RAF Oldham. During that meeting, a matter was raised which was raised at the last council meeting by a member of the Trial-Like Action Group with regard to access to Long Valley. Since that meeting, I have been trying to make contact with a guy down at Warminster to be able to get an answer, but he's very kind because it ignored my emails completely. However, today, at this afternoon's meeting, there was a chap from, a captain from Minley, who was able to give me some details of somebody locally who would be able to answer the questions. So hopefully I have to make contact with him very shortly and finally bring back an answer to that question from Ted.
Thank you very much. Right, so item 12 is a little bit unusual. This is about accountability for Hart District Council. So I'm going to ask Mr Phillips, as our monitoring officer, to make a recommendation to the council and explain that to us, please.
Yes, Joe, I'm just making clear, it's something we've been watching. We have a shared service with Basingstoke and Dean on legal services. Clearly, the Solicitor Council is a function of our council, and there have been some changes at Basingstoke, which have resulted in people we thought would be in the Solicitor Council moving on. There is Anne Greaves, the legal services manager there, who actually, in effect, is our Solicitor Council. I just would like it noted that she is there for the record that's recorded that way around, just in case anyone asks us the question. So I'm not asking for a debate whether she's right or wrong. She is the Solicitor Council of Basingstoke as well. But I'd just like to make it noted for our records that if we have a prosecution or something, that we can point to the right bit of paper saying that person is the authorised person. That's all I'm looking for.
Thank you. So what I'm going to ask for is just a show of hands, just so that we can minute that we as a council understand this. So, yes, so it's just to confirm it. So can I have a show of hands for everyone?
Sorry, Chairman, can I just ask?
We have to move it. You can't
Oh, sorry, I do apologise. We're going to move that we recommend this. So can I have a show of hands for... Okay, it's a good job this is my last one now, isn't it? I've really lost the plot. So, can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Gorries was first. And a second.
My last act.
Yeah. A second to Councillor Parker, if that's
Very
right.
happy to second Councillor Gorries.
Okay, that's okay. Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to check for clarity before the vote with the Joint Chief Executive. If there is a dispute between the two councils on something like the waste contract, where I understand there are difficulties in Basingstoke and Dean, does having the same person have any impact whatsoever?
The convention is, Chairman, we go outside and get external advice separate from each other. It's a conflict of interest, so we probably would be, if it's our contract that they're disputing, we would go get our own legal advice. And we have arrangements with other authorities to do that.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything they would like to ask before we have a show of hands? So show of hands to accept the understanding. Lovely. Thank you very much. Anyone against saying you don't understand it or no? Okay. So, very sadly, this is the last time I'm going to say this. So I would like to thank all of the councillors for your contribution to the meeting. I would like to thank all the officers for your support, which is one of you today, and thank all the members to the public for coming up. We really appreciate when you take the time to come up and support these meetings and to understand what goes on. And that's it. Good night.
Where's the raffle being?
That's it, ladies and gentlemen, end of the meeting. Hope you've enjoyed the streaming.